Roger. Ready to move out.
These niggas thinking they ain't crazy out here. Now bounce. Y'all gotta pardon me tonight.
Hey, the iHeart Intellectual Radio, Black Conservative Radio. I am your host, Alan J. Campbell, a.k.a. The Batman, here at the top of the hour. All right. Hey, it's great to be back. We have had some tumultuous weather. It seems like every weekend or every other day we were getting snow, and then we were in this Arctic blast. So kind of made it difficult for a lot of us to get here, even for the Batman. But that didn't mean that the Batman wasn't out there fighting crime. All right. Couple of things we're going to get into tonight. The first one, which I'm pleased to see, but I want to see the momentum that it picks up. Okay, earlier today, our governor here in the state of Illinois, J.B. Pritzker, signed into law the police reform criminal justice bill. Signed into law. Okay, what that is that they move working in the area of transparency and police. Biggest thing is police accountability. Now, a lot of you all have heard me talk about the police department, and I have been let me rephrase that. You have heard me discuss police situations and police accountability. I am for police accountability. I am also pro police, and I know a lot of people are like, what? Well, you gotta understand there are things that we have to we either be part of, or we're either part of the solution or part of the problem. And when I say pro police, I'm pro police for the ones that are actually out there doing their job. There's an old saying in the police department: 10% of the cops do 90% of the work. Okay, so therefore, there's where I stand on that. Now, if you're out there, you out there doing some shenanigans, some bullshit, being a gang member with a badge and a gun, then you deserve to get everything you got coming. Just aside, and this goes into what we're talking. Goes into this crime bill. What this does is that creates a level of transparency. That's number one, most important thing. If we're going to talk about justice reform, we have to talk about transparency and accountability. The biggest problem is that police officers, and I have to say, unfortunately, a great percentage of them, they're not held accountable. There is no accountability. They have been allowed to run amok for X amount of years. Now, what this bill does, what this piece of legislation does, it not only does several things. Actually, it actually does away with the throw a rock and hide your hand, so to speak, with police officers. So and also, this is a very good thing, that is now it's mandated that all police departments in the state of Illinois, their officers must have body cams, and this is going into effect very, very soon. But all departments must have body cams by the year 2025. Every police department in the state of Illinois, from the most affluent down to the poorest, everyone has to have these body cams, which creates your level of transparency. And to go into the topic of these body cams. Okay. See, the thing about these body cams, you cannot manipulate them. You cannot hide the truth. Okay. For example, I'm not sure if you all saw this body cam footage of a police officer using excessive force against another unarmed black man. Excessive force. So the story goes. Not story, but so the video starts off as this young man was walking down the street, and he is accosted by two police officers. I kid you not, I can't make this up. In their report, and I say there because there were two police officers and they were partnered up. And here's the thing that I have a problem, and this is the part to where, yes, and I still stick to the part about being pro-police, because if you are a police officer, the whole point of this is for you to be doing the right thing, even if it means going against your own system, to say, hey, this is wrong. Right is right and wrong is wrong. That never is going to change. So as this young man was walking down the street, he was accosted by these two police officers, and as he has his hands in plain sight, one officer tries to pull his shirt up, and he begins the young man begins to put his hands down. The second officer in turn grabs him by his collar and tosses him to the ground. And not only did he toss him to the ground, but he bashes his head into the ground several times, where the man suffered scrapes and bruises and a mild concussion, also damaging his glasses. Now, here's the kicker, or as they say, here's the gag. In the report of one of the police officers, and here's the thing: the officers one was black and another one was Hispanic Latino. Now, the black officer was the one seen on body cam assaulting, and that's basically what it was. This was a brutal assault on this man's person, without a doubt. And in their report, they actually wrote, and I shit you not, I can't make this up. The report said that he had a surprised look on his face, which is why we stopped him. Yes, people, you heard that right. And they actually wrote this in their police report. He had a shocked look on his face, which was the reason why they stopped him. Okay. Okay. If that's not a crock of shit, I don't know what is. I tell you, I really, that you really actually, and you thought that this was going to fly. Now, let's back up a little bit. During this incident, once they got the young man up off the ground, you can see in the video that the man appeared to be injured, and a concussion, because the man could bear it. He was wobbling as they were leading him to the squad. So once they got him in there, they began to pat him down and ask him several questions. And here's the other part. When their supervisor arrived on the scene, now mind you, here's the other part. There are at least a dozen witnesses and people with their phones out. Listen, and this is going out, and this is for anyone that's within earshot of my what I'm saying. If you are a police officer or in law enforcement, you have to remember that people have that cell phones are the cameras on cell phones are the biggest telltale truths. They are the biggest. There are always cameras looking. People's cell phones, people's security cameras. There are always cameras everywhere. And the fact that police officers or certain police officers have done so much and gotten away with it and feel entitled in doing this because there is no repercussion. This continues. Now, when their supervisor asked them what was the reason that you stopped him, their reason, they didn't even have a reason. They couldn't even give their supervisor a reason on why they stopped him. The supervisor asked him, well, is he under arrest? And if he is, what is he under arrest for? These two cops literally had the deer in headlight look in their eyes on when they were being asked what was their purpose and reasoning. Now, you can find this video. You can go to YouTube and you can see this video. But this goes into showing, and this is one of the reasons why body cams are so important, and why I definitely welcome them to all police departments, not only here in the state of Illinois, but across the country, because you will see you will get a different perspective of what is going on, what is actually happening, who said what, and why something was done. There's also, and this also protects the police officer against false allegations, but this also protects the citizen against false allegations from a police officer. This also protects them from that. Also, so it's kind of a double-edged sword, a kind of a double-edged sword. But we have to, but unfortunately, this has to be wielded, and it has to be wielded because now we live in a society where it is absolutely necessary for these things to come to light. I tell you, and I say that because of a lot of things that have happened over the years. There's a brother here at the show, and I want to give a shout out because I try to catch some of his shows, and following up on some things. And a lot of you probably are not familiar with him, but you have heard of him. And Fred Hampton Jr., or Chairman Fred. Now, Chairman Fred was his father, but and unfortunately, this is one of the things to where you really wish body cams were available, were around at that time, and you would definitely have the truth on this situation. So, much love to my man, Fred Hampton Jr., who has a show, who has a program on this show. Much love to you, bro. But there were other things that have gone on to where police have lied and manipulated the situation for their own benefit, to where if cameras were available. Now, to sidebar on that, let's take the Rodney King situation, to where there was a camera, a private citizen videotaped Rodney King getting his ass whooped by at least half a dozen police officers. And the killing part is these police officers were acquitted, even with video evidence. Now, that doesn't go to say that the camera is foolproof, but it also goes into the perception of what people are seeing, how they look at it, and how they interpret it. The initial story was that Rodney King was a quote unquote was a violent individual, a violent animal that had to be put down. Okay, I don't agree with that, and I never will agree with that. I remember when the video first aired, and what it looked like, and this was a man that they were beating unmercifully, and he was trying to defend himself against this brutality. Let's fast forward. Let's move to the Jason Van Dyke, Laquan McDonald situation. The entire situation was recorded from start to finish, from the few minutes this young man was alive, all the way up until he was killed. Till he was executed. Let's make no mistake about that. And then six officers still tried to lie about the situation, stating, and Jason Van Dyke said in Jason's own statement said that he lunged at me with a knife. And all of us have seen the video. All of us have seen it over and over and over. At what point? But so this is the thing to where, yes, we welcome this, but we have to make sure that the people who are reviewing this, who are looking at this, are not going to manipulate the narrative if that's manipulate the narrative. See, without these cameras, a lot of things have gone on, a lot of things have happened, and law enforcement, police officers have been allowed to manipulate the narrative, or basically give not tell, but give their version of the story. And only because they're police officers, they're supposed to be believable. Supposed to be believable. That's but see, now we're to a point to where now we have people in society that no longer trust, believe in police officers. And see, there's the thing: when I was growing up, and we had what we at that time he was called Officer Friendly. But the thing about Officer Friendly was white. When he came to my school, you had the police officer. He was a white cop. He was a white cop. I think I had to been I still had to been probably maybe 10 years old, maybe 10 or 12 years old when I actually saw a black police officer for the first time, or say I saw a police officer that looked like me. They didn't send black police officers into black schools to show Officer Friendly. Officer Friendly is not white, but see, this is the way that they want to, they have manipulated the narrative to saying that white people or white society is the savior, and so a white police officer is the one that you're supposed to look up to. And I don't want to get too far off the topic, but going into this crime bill, or not crime bill, but into this piece of legislation, these cameras are welcome are welcomed by a majority of those who want them. Now, a lot of law enforcement, they're getting pushback from law enforcement because they're saying we weren't consulted on this. We don't have all the data on this. How much more data do you need when you have officers out there that are acting a complete fool, or who are operating outside of the law? Operating outside the law. Now, the other thing too is we have to take into consideration that when these body cams are down, when these officers come off duty, who is in charge? And they download the information from that, and it's supposed to go into a safe server. That's the understanding. And see, this is the part to where this is not an 8mm film or DVR or something like that. You can't manipulate these things. You cannot. So what is on there is on there, and also their work, and also they're using the cloud system, which means that it's in there. That means that it's in there forever. A lot of this is being loaded to the cloud, which is a very good thing, because you may need this should an incident go to trial. Well, should it go that far? And it's about goddamn time that this particular thing has been addressed and getting into it, and people not sitting on the fence of talking about, oh, this, that, and the other. The other thing that goes into this bill, or this bill was put in, was the fact that they're doing away with they're doing away with cash bonds for people who can't, for non-violent offenders. And that means that it's very and a lot of people wind up languishing in jail because they can't afford to get out. They don't have the money, and then in some instances, there are some people who won't pay people's bond because they know they're going to go right back out there and do the same thing that got them put in there. That's one of the other things that went into this piece of legislation. But the biggest thing is that what I think people are going to happy to see is this is these body cams, because you cannot lie, you cannot manipulate this and a lot of this went, and a lot of this thought process went into effect after the George Floyd situation, where this was an individual who felt a sense of entitlement and treating this man like less than a human, less than an animal. And he felt, and the thing about it, he felt good about it. And he had rookie officers with him who were observing this. Now, at the same time, there's never people always say, well, when is the right time to do a good thing? There is there's no such thing as when is the right time to do the right thing. You're supposed to do the right thing regardless who it may be, who it may be against, who it may be for. You're always supposed to try to do the right thing. Always try and do the right thing. And one of the problems is that police officers, those who try to do the right thing, will be ostracized because the ideas stand with the blue wall. Okay, I understand. I understand that, but there's a point to where when you took this job, you took an oath for three things: uphold the law, uphold the law, preserve life, preserve life. Okay, those are the two main things: uphold the law and preserve life. Doing the right thing. That falls all together. At what point do you compromise your principles when you put on that uniform, badge, and gun? When what do you put that on and then you put your put your principles off to the side? Unfortunately, some of them have done that. Unfortunately, but that's just the way it is the way it is. Let's just be truthful. It is the way it is. So, I applaud Governor Pritzker for doing and the Illinois legislation for doing what I consider the right thing, because it's a long time coming, but it's only as good as the people who enforce it. It's only as good as the people who enforce it. It makes no good if they're not going to enforce it or not going to ride with it. It's no good. It's as good as the paper that it's written on, but they have to enforce it. So, moving on to my next topic. Moving on to that. The last 2 weeks ago, and I need for y'all to really understand this. I really, 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 really do. But let me do this right quick. I want to give a shout out. The first half of the show was brought to you by Captain Hook's. Captain Hook's delicious chicken and seafood. If you want something to eat, get down there to Captain Hook's, 85th and Cottage Grove, 103rd and King Drive, and 15922 South Kedzie in Markham, Illinois. Captain Hook's. 2 weeks ago, Sleepy Joe signed an executive order to give the pathway to citizenship to over 11 million illegal, undocumented immigrants. Hear what I'm saying to you, people. Hear what I'm saying. He signed an executive order to give a pathway to citizenship to 11 million. 11 million. 11 million is equivalent to a city in another country, like China. You might as well give the whole city amnesty, because what he did, and this is basically what he did, is that he gave people amnesty for breaking the law. They're getting rewarded for breaking the law. And how they're getting rewarded, very simply put, when they say the pathway to citizenship, he's creating a gateway, a portal for these people to receive money, housing, health care, okay, money that they don't have to pay back is called a grant. Health care, free health care that you and I and the rest of our American people are paying for other people who shouldn't even be here. The other thing, housing. They're getting housing. Housing. How does this even work? You're giving these people all of this for breaking the law. I'm gonna tell you what's gonna happen with me. I go to another country and I break the law. They're gonna lock my black ass up and they're gonna throw away the key. They're gonna stick me in the deepest, darkest dungeon they can possibly find. Why? Because what? I broke the law. Very simply put, I broke the law, and that's gonna happen. I can't go to I can't go to China. Can't do it. Cannot do it. No, can't. It's not gonna happen. I can't go to Russia. I can't sneak into Russia, the Soviet Union. I can't sneak into to Africa. I can't sneak into any of these countries and not suffer the consequences. But here it is. These people have swam, floated, crawled across the Rio Grande through tunnels. Even some have even been, I kid you not, have scaled fences or have launched themselves over into America. And the idea is that what he's done is that he's created a pathway to citizenship, and he's given them 8 years to do it. So that means that all of these resources and funding that you and I should get as America, can't say citizens, because here's the thing. I'm only an American by birth. Only. I'm only American. See, it's a difference now. Remember, we've talked about this before, an American and a citizen. I'm an American by birth. I'm not a citizen because I haven't been deemed a citizen, because I am black, because I am still considered property under the Constitution, 3/5 of a man, which means that I am still considered property. I am not a citizen. So in their eyes, I have no rights, but I'm supposed to be an American, supposed to be, or I'm supposed to be treated that way. And here we are. But they're giving 11. But he's giving 11 million people, 11 million people, pathway to citizenship. I kid you not. But remember now, this is the people that some of you all ran your black asses to the polls to put in there. And see, also what this does, people, is that when you're talking about giving 11 million people amnesty, and I'm going to keep handling that word, amnesty. And see, for those who are slow, are not fully understanding, amnesty means that it's basically a level of forgiveness. Yeah, you broke the law and we forgive you. Just don't do it again and start doing things the right way. I'm telling you, if the other way around, let's put it this way. Obama did the exact same thing, but what he did was Obama closed the border. See, people don't remember. See, people people forget about what Obama did to the Haitians. They forget when the Haitians when the Haitians wanted to come here, Obama closed the borders. Oh, people don't remember that. See, because it happened so quietly, he told them, "You are not welcomed here." But these people are black. He did not. There was no amnesty. There was no, oh yeah, come on over. We're gonna help you. We're gonna take care of you. We're gonna do all of this. None of that. That didn't happen. But you have these individuals that are here right now that are. This is when they do this. This is going to take away essential jobs that you and I are supposed to have, or are have a right to have. We're supposed to have that. But remember now, we have to understand, as I said before, we have to understand the difference between being an American and being a citizen. They're going to give citizenship to a majority of these people. Citizenship. Yes. So that means that all the money and resource. Here's the other thing. Here's another kicker that they're actually talking about in this current 590-page bill for the third coronavirus relief package. They're actually talking about giving illegal immigrants money, giving them upwards to $2,800, and giving Americans $1,400. Now, and I'm look, don't shoot the messenger. I'm telling you what's in the bill. I mean, I'm gonna ask my engineer. I mean, you did you hear? It's oh, okay. In my phone, I hear my phone. so this is where we're at with this deal. Getting upwards to $2,800, and Americans are only getting $1,400. Help me understand something. Help me understand that. Hello. Hey, welcome to Black Conservative Radio. Who to have on the phone, and where are you calling from?
Yeah, this is Jason, Georgia.
Oh, all right. Well, hey, okay. I'm gonna just step aside, just jump right in, bro.
So three things. The first thing that you was talking about, which was this immigration policy. So let's be very clear on how that affects people of color, because we're so close to having this universal "we shall overcome, you, me, we brothers" type situation. That's not true. Dr. Claude Anderson said several years ago in his book, Black Labor, White Wealth, that there is going to be exactly what we're seeing now, a policy of what is called benign neglect. And the policy of benign neglect basically says, we're not going to say that we're discriminating against you. We're just going to pretend that you don't exist. And we are going to create other avenues to push you aside, to neglect you, to pretend you don't exist. And that's exactly what's happening with immigration. Immigration becomes the new vehicle that pushes Black people, niggas, Negroes, whatever you want to call yourself this week, pushes you again to the back of the line. If you don't think that that's not true, then please look at the economics. As they so often say, follow the money.
Follow the money.
Now, on January 20th, the exact same day that Joe Biden was sworn in, there was an update that was sent over as one of the many executive orders that he signed one day. There was an executive order that he signed that says we are going to now be inclusive to dreamers, DACA, and people in immigration status and undocumented status. Go look it up. It's on the FHA's website.
Yes.
That those people would now be qualified applicants to apply for FHA mortgages, loans, housing, and pathways to home ownership.
That is true. That is very, very, very.
Go look it up on the FHA.gov's website. That was signed on January 20th.
Hey, Georgia, repeat that. Repeat repeat that that site so people.
FHA. Just go look at the FHA's new housing guidelines.
People need you to listen to this. Listen.
So what that means is basically undocumented workers, people who are here illegally, now have a blanket of covering or a blanket of amnesty, as you said earlier, that they now get to jump in front of the line for initiatives in housing, lending practices, and property. Please understand that the whole essence of America's weight and wealth lies in property ownership. If you do not own property, and I'm not talking about a Mercedes-Benz for the dummies in the room. I'm not talking about a Lexus. If you do not own property, which is what they call real estate, which is basically saying real estate, real equity, something that is tangible, okay, then you are going to be left out. And they have just created a complete pathway. Because let me put the economics back here into it. A house full of immigrants can come in. One of them can qualify for renting the house. 3 families can live in that same house, stacking their money, doing whatever they need to do. Because remember, they're not obligated to pay taxes. Most of the time, these are cash workers. Most of the time, they're cash workers. So that 3 families that's living in a single family home has the ability, if they do their money right and they have this collective understanding that we don't have, we're going to do what we need to do to work together as a community. Those 3 families within 5 years, maybe 3, each one of them can go ahead and qualify for a $200,000 to a $500,000 mortgage.
They sure
I
can.
need you to understand that. So with those 3 families working together, living together, and under that single rental property, now have the ability to accumulate wealth to go ahead and make themselves real estate millionaires.
And here, and
you sitting around here still trying to figure out how you gonna hold on to Big Mama Section 8. This is how we play the game, and this is why we're not winning.
Right.
You're not winning because you don't understand the game. You're still playing chess when this is a checkers game.
You mean I know they're playing checkers when they chess. Yes.
Chess. And this is 3-dimensional chess. This is 3 dimensions. Okay? Here's the other funny thing. I mean, it's hilarious to watch the level of disappointment just wash across people's face like sunshine. When you look at on January 22nd, the myriad of Black Lives Matter murals and street signs that got washed away into the sewer. What does that tell you? That entire agenda and initiative, that shit is going the way of the dodo bird. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris has not once brought any significant legislation to Congress to say, we need to deal with this. We need to deal with this criminal justice and police reform situation that we promised. However, that is something that our former president, like him or not, he did put a very plausible attempt, a very significant attempt in changing that tide.
Mm-hmm.
Let's be very clear. Since we want to talk and see how bad everything is, also understand that anytime, and I'm shifting gears a little bit, you still don't figure this out where these people keep talking about how entitled you are. Listen to the narrative of how they keep saying how Black people and Hispanic people deserve to get this vaccine first. They must get this vaccine first. And the first place that we can help to fix the racial disparities or the injustices of racial injustice is we need to give it to our neighbors, the African Americans and the Latinos. They need to go first. You big dummy. Well, that's like when your enemy says, hey, why don't you come over and have some tea with me? And he never drinks it.
Right. And I'm glad you mentioned that because I saw and this goes to what you just said about about forcing this on the African Americans and trying to say we want to make you inclusive people. The biggest I don't care what you say or what you tell me. I don't care. I don't care when the number comes up or when you say you got this, that, and the other about this vaccination. Something is not right with it because I heard a LPN, if I'm correct. I heard her go into this vaccination with all these companies and talking about how they're structuring it, they're structuring this vaccination in a way to where it it's detrimental to Black people, which is why they're forcing or they're pushing this particular thing, and they're not telling people what is actually happening. They're just starting trials on pregnant women. The biggest thing I have with when you have government funded vaccinations, the first thing that comes to my mind is the Tuskegee experiment. That's the first thing. No way in hell no way in hell I'm taking this vaccination. No way. It's not going to happen. I'm not doing it. Let
me also throw this in here. I guess we forgot about the incident where General Sheridan gave blankets that was laced with smallpox to the Indians on their road, on their Trail of Tears. To Oklahoma out to the west. Okay, I guess we're going to forget about that. I guess we're also going to forget about Lyle Station, which was in Indiana, which is up you guys' way. Lyle Station was an area where the federal government, under the guise of educational reform, did open testing of radiation, live radiation on children from the ages of 6 to 17 to see how much exposure to radiation they could withstand. This is what we did. Okay, we talk about the Tuskegee experiment, and most of y'all just want to say the name because it sounds like something that you should know about, but you really don't know. You also have to understand that in that experiment, black people, and I'm going to say it again, black people went into their own communities and recruited other black people under the guise that this was a free medical aid program that the federal government was rolling out to help African Americans. Key word, haven't we heard this again? That the government wants to come in to help African Americans. And what they did by the help of our own people is inject live cultures of syphilis and other STDs. It wasn't just syphilis that they injected into these people for decades. And the only reason why it came out, I need you to understand that they didn't want to stop the Tuskegee experiment. They did not want to stop. It was a whistleblower out of Nashville by way of Edward Kennedy who exposed this.
Yes.
They didn't stop the experiment because it was wrong. They stopped it because it was exposed. It was exposed. Think about that. The federal government conducted an experiment on generations of people, on a segment of the population for decades within the Southeast. And they didn't stop because it was legal. They stopped because it was exposed. But you want to run your black ass down there because your pimp ass preacher then told you we need to get vaccines so we can be safe. Wait a minute. I thought y'all had a vaccine that couldn't nobody touch called the blood. Where did that go? I grew up in church. I remember church very, very frequently. I was there very frequently. And I'm trying to remember, when did the blood ever lose its power? Oh, I'm sorry, it never had none. Because all of a sudden, we went from the blood will never lose its power to COVID is just something we don't mess with. So either you got the truth or you've been feeding us bullshit. But it can't be both.
Cannot be both.
Cannot be both.
Right.
How do you preach an Easter sermon in today's age, in the age of COVID? How do you do that? That's what I'm trying to figure out. How, as a church, do you even have that sermon? Somebody sneeze, you ready to run up out of there and get in your Rolls Royce and leave. I digress and we'll come back. But the fact of the matter is, this economic situation that we're in is very devastating. And the current administration that we're dealing with, this is the Pharaoh who is going to make you make bricks without straw. And if you don't understand what that means, then you need to go back to your good book and learn what that means. Because it means that more tribulation and trials are coming, and your black ass is going to be left out in the heat. Because if they're making pathways for everyone to get saved but you, what does that mean to you?
Mm-hmm.
Immigration is the new civil rights hotbed of activity.
Yes. Let me throw this out here. I want to loop around back to this thing. Now, people, and listen to what I'm saying. During the campaign trail for 18 months, you heard these two jackasses, and I'm talking about Sleepy Joe and Blondie over there, talk about not immigration, but talk about justice reform, justice this, justice that. Here it is. Let's go to Kamala Harris. Let's go to this knucklehead. She was the top law enforcement officer in California. I'm sorry, the top law enforcement in San Francisco, and fought against police reform. She was and look this up, people. There was a young man named Oscar Grant. If you and they did a movie called Fruitvale Station. It was based and it was about him. Kamala Harris was the district attorney of San Francisco at the time this happened. A white police officer shot and killed Oscar Grant as he lay handcuffed on the floor on the platform of the Bay Area Rapid Transit platform. Shot and killed him as he lay handcuffed. He thought he was grabbing his taser and grabbed his firearm. You know, his word. This is this officer, and at the same time, this led to the changes in how officers use their tasers or what side that they had their tasers on. They have to have their tasers opposite of their gun hand. Now, moving further than that, now let's open that wider for reform. Kamala Harris wound up becoming, not only she became the attorney general, the top law enforcement officer of California, and fought against police reform. She was the one that she was able to oversee the largest gang in California, which is the LAPD. The largest. Here, then you become a senator, and when you're asked questions about criminal justice, criminal reform. Now, and not only that, but she alone had a 67% conviction rate. Out of the 67%, 32 of that were black men, not men of color, but black men. And there was even points to where she proceeded with cases that she knew that where the evidence was not there. Now, this is the same person that you have in the White House. Now, moving over to Sleepy Joe, who created the crime bill, the very crime bill that we are in, that we still deal with today. But now what he does is that he starts surrounding himself with people who are smarter than he is, which Joe, nobody ever comes. The only reason that Obama picked Obama picked Joe Biden as his running mate as the vice president, because Joe was it's like that kid on the playing field. You got to pick him. So the only reason you picked him, not because he's good, but you want to even the team out. That's the only reason. That's the only reason.
No, not only that, but you have to understand, and this is very critical, Joe was going to be the advocate that helped to make sure that the interests of white supremacy were not too highly incensed. Let's be very clear.
Right.
Joe Biden's friends are high levels of generals in white supremacy, into the structural system that we're talking about.
Right, because he went to
He do not believe me. He went to several funerals of deceased senators who were known grand wizards and imperial wizards of the Klan.
Exactly.
Keyword, you do not go to people's funerals and eulogize them. I want you guys to look this up, but I know you won't because it's not on Facebook. See, you guys are too busy chasing Gorilla Glue challenges and stimulus checks, which you're not going to get. Let me be very clear. there's a good chance of slim to none. Your black ass ain't getting another stimulus check. Let me be very clear. The reason why they have prolonged the impeachment was to prolong the Senate. If the Senate and the House were dealing with the impeachment, they could not work on your stimulus or the recovery package.
Right.
They're talking about now they're going to do a vote this week. That's not going to happen. They don't have the votes.
They don't have the votes.
They don't have the votes. And last time I checked, the bill was being gutted so bad that it was going to be sent back to the House. So if it's being gutted so bad that it's being sent back to the House, that means that you don't have a bill.
Right. Right, because
I'm only going on the legal process.
Wait, now here's the other thing. And see, and if you're still walking around with this donkey tail up your ass, being a Democrat, understand something, that the Democrats think that they're in control. They're only in control by the slimmest of margins. The House. Nancy Pelosi only controls the House by the slimmest of margin. When I say the slimmest of margin, the slimmest, she can only afford to lose 5 votes before the Republicans take over, which is going to happen. They're going to kill that. They're going to kill this. Then you go over to the Senate. The Democrats can only afford to lose 2 votes before the Republicans kill it. They only have that. Now, but the prime example was the impeachment. You need, and see, what that was a prime example, because you needed, in order to have a conviction, you needed 2/3 majority vote. 2/3. See how stupid the Democrats are? They didn't take the fumble of the football and run the other direction for the score like the Republicans did, because the Republicans say anything we want, fuck you. We just want a simple majority. We just want a simple majority. We don't need a full majority. A simple majority means that all they would have needed was 51 instead of the full six. Wait. And see now, hold the thought. So, but now if they need anything, now the Democrats talk about, we need a full majority, which is 60, which they do not have, because you're not going to get 7 Democrats to side with you. You're not going to get it. It's not going to happen, because now this is the prime example of why this is not getting done, and why they spent 2.5 weeks trying to get a conviction for a man who's not even in office. And then the killing part, this is the laugher. He still beat him, and he's not even in office. This is a bad dude. This just goes to of spending zero time and doing nothing for the American people. Because if the president was, if Joe Biden really wanted to do something, he could have immediately told Congress, we don't have time for this. Get me a goddamn bill so I can sign it, so we can get these people. Now, if he wanted to score points, that's what he could have done. But this dude sat there on this proverbial donkey, and these are a couple of people that's going straight to hell riding this snag-tooth mule with gasoline draws, because not doing the right. Going back to what I said earlier, there's never doing the right thing. There's never a compromise in doing the right thing. But go ahead.
Well, the one thing I was going to say is that the difference between bill legislation and constitution ratification is this. Constitutional ratification requires a solid 2/3 majority.
2/3.
That's not to be compromised. Legislation can be, which means that if you decide to go into nuclear mode, that 2/3 majority does not have to be 60. It can be a simple majority. Because of the construct of our Constitution, any sort of ratified amendment or anything that's dealing with the constitutional precedent has to be held to the standard, which means impeachment cannot be compromised. If it requires a 2/3 majority, 60 votes is 60 votes. If you
60.
don't have it, you don't have it.
Right. Exactly.
And we have to understand that the major reason why the Democratic Party still exists is because they killed your Black Panther Party. I think you need to understand that. It's a little nugget. The major reason why the Democratic Party still even exists today was because they destroyed and annihilated by the use of legislation and Gestapo tactics by the FBI and all of the enforcement agencies that we now know,
and turncoats,
to destroy a political party establishment. The Black Panther Party was a political rival party that would be the equivalent of the Green Party. It had more momentum though, and that's why they sought to destroy it. They were very successful. The WIC program was a byproduct of the Black Panther program.
Yes.
The community clinics that you now have under your Board of Health was initiatives started by the Black Panthers. Your community clinics, period, was an initiative started by the Black Panthers. And it was started because our communities were so greatly underserved. And they were underserved on purpose. They were underserved because of two principles. And I need y'all to look this shit up or be quiet. It's the principle of benign neglect and the other military strategy of scorched earth. So basically, in scorched earth, you take all of the resources out of a particular area and then you decimate it by removing any ways for that community to branch out to other communities to survive. So you take the jobs out, you take the markets out. Mm-hmm. If you ever noticed that before Walmart came into your community, the only stores you had was Dollar General, Dollar Tree, and maybe a Family Dollar? The stores are 3 times the cost of anything. They're predatory vendors that exploit your brokenness. They exploit your poverty. You go to Walmart and get a thing of Tide for $5. That same thing of Tide at Dollar General is $9. Hell, a loaf of bread at Walmart is $1.88, give or take. It's $3.50 at Dollar General, Family Dollar. Why do you think that is? Go to the richer parts of your area, and you will not see Dollar General, a Family Dollar. You maybe see a Dollar Tree, but you will not see Dollar General or Family Dollar in your more affluent neighborhoods, and that's on purpose. You don't even understand how much you're being exploited in your poverty on purpose. That's why they call you disposable income. Rich people do not use the term disposable income because nothing that they have is disposable. It's not disposable because it's going to some use one way or the other.
Yep. Yeah.
I digress.
All right. Hey, thank you again, brother. Thank you again. Hey, we can go on and on and on to the break of dawn with this, with all this information. But as I look in the distance, I see the lights flashing, and the helicopter is about to land, which means that's all the time we have here on iHeart Intellectual Radio, Black Conservative Radio. Conservatives. Let me give a shout out to my sponsors. Captain Hooks, 103rd and King Drive, 85th and Cottage Grove, and 159th and Kedzie and Markham, Illinois. But I hope you all took something away with this, and not just I want you all to not just watch the show because some of because hey, some of you may know me and some of you not, but I want you to make sure that you're taking some of these nuggets away and storing them and using them, and look some of this stuff up. Do your fact finding. Understand where you are in this society and why you're there, why we're at this point in society. So with that being said, not my monkey, not my circus. I'm gonna see y'all next week, Lord willing.
Atomic batteries to power. Turbines to speed.
Roger. Ready to move out.